Welcome to The Big Story. I'm Oluwayemi Adelako. And of course, this morning we examine the implications of a verdict that has generated reactions across Nigeria and beyond. The former Minister of Petroleum Resources, Dezani Alice Madueke, has been acquitted by a London jury of all 6 charges brought against her after a lengthy trial and more than a decade of investigation. 11 years, actually. Does this verdict clear a name in the eyes of the public? What does it mean for the credibility of anti-corruption effort, both in Nigeria and internationally? And how do high-profile acquittals shape public confidence in the justice system? And to help us unpack these questions today, I'm joined by Afolabi Afolami, a public affairs analyst. And before I turn to him, we are discussing the topic, Alice Madueke acquitted. What does it mean for public perception of high-profile cases? Welcome on board this morning.
Good morning, Nigerians. Good morning, my friend. How are we doing?
We are very well, I guess. So when I was, going through my intro, I discovered that you smile. I'm not really sure whether it was a laugh.
Yes, it was a smile to tell you that after 11 years, somebody has just been granted leave to go home free.
Exactly. So let's talk about the 11 years now. I think that's more reason why I decided to bring a public affairs analyst. We are not looking at the issue from the legal standpoint. 11 years in the UK court, what do you make of that? Because there are several cases in this country, Nigeria, especially with the EFCC, that have dragged for years, 5, 6, 10 years. But for a UK court, some Nigerians are saying we expect more. Why should a case drag for that long?
That has also been the question of a common man like me to ask the Nigerian government and the UK courts, especially the juries who unanimously come together to say this woman is free of all these allegations. Yes, it tells us what our society is made up. It also tells us that we are in a kind of society where the rich can go scot-free, and that is where the George Orwell, a very wonderful book comes to my mind, The Animal Farm, that not all animals are equal, and that is where I want us to draw the attention that it is becoming a kind of to me the judgment does not go down well. But what do you expect of a court like that? We have money scrapped from this place is taken abroad, and when such money gets to UK, it becomes their money and another opportunity for them to invest on. If I will also want to add, I've also seen UK as a collaborators in the drive for more corruption in Nigeria, because they don't send back those money, they don't send back those corporates. They kind to encourage them the more.
But UK is more structured compared to Nigeria in terms of their systems, their structure.
And are you telling me now that it has not been polluted? It has been polluted by the power that be. The last time we saw the delegates of the incumbent president, visiting the UK in a way of too much of power to say, and beyond that meeting, so many other things will have come up. And I know that government will be interested in Alice Madueke's kind of wealth that has been frozen down here, and also will be interested in, there's a plea bargain that I know might have gone beyond under the ground that many people are not aware of. But I tell you, it does not speak well to have such kind of judgment, to see such kind of person who have amassed wealth illegally, and whose kind of allegation they also traced to some people, and their names were mentioned. in your introduction, you mentioned that what does it mean to the society? How does it tend to look in the face of the masses? Yes, we talk about the society. We tend to forget things very easily. 11 years. If not that this judgment was come to be yesterday, that it got to the media's table, many people have forgotten who is there's any Madeke, was he having a case or anything. It is the masses, it is the government that are more concerned. The masses are facing present situation where they are praying that they get out of it, ranging from insecurity to food scarcity to power supply to bad roads to petroleum pump price increase day in day out to cooking gas increase and many other things, to the shutting down of schools and the inability of students to now go to school freely because of the high rate of insecurity that we are facing now. Nobody is left about what the case. There are many people outside there, also in the government, who should be tried by now, whose cases have not been mentioned, or whose cases are still going through trials, whose trials may also end up like it has been for Destiny Madeke. So the situation we find ourselves right now is a kind of situation that only a miracle can turn things around. And that miracle may not actually come from government, may come from God Almighty himself, because at the point where you have the list of what Destiny has taken away from this country, even the undies alone, the cost of it outside there, people marveled when they hear the price, let alone the wristwatches, the kind of shoes, and this woman worked freely at 65. Imagine, when she was a minister, she was in her late 40s, and things like this happens just freely like that. And then you want to talk about who are the future leaders of this country, who are the people that will hold this country in a high esteem, even in the next 10, 20 years, 30 years. Such a person that Madike is. Disney is not just an ordinary person. The husband is also a powerful person. He's a powerful man in the Nigerian army. And that tells you how the rich get away with things where the poor end up at the bar. And that is the situation Nigeria is. It's a frank situation. It's a thing to talk about. But at the same time, to an ordinary Nigerians that is walking on the street, what matters to them right now is the problem with insecurity and food on their table.
Okay, let's talk about, still talking about Madueke now. I think around 2010 to 2015, she was a minister of petroleum resources under the former president, Goodluck Jonathan. So according to reports that I was privy to, at a point, Goodluck Jonathan wrote to the court, the UK court, to say, I authorize, some aspect of this expenditure. What do you make of that?
Whatever anybody does under any government, especially as a minister or commissioner under a government, whatever you do is supposed to be authorized by the governor, who is the chief executive officer of that state, or the chief in charge of the entire state, of the entire country. Yes, whatever Jonathan has said, if Jonathan has said that, it's free. It's just the best way to have said it, because she would not, at a point she rose to the position of the OPEC secretary. At the point she rose to
she was the president, the first woman president.
The first woman president. And the first woman president, then, you don't expect her not to have connections, freedom, especially influence on. So when the case come up, but at the time the case first come up, I was also concluding that this case will not go far. This case will not heed to any water, because I know that this is a case that many people will be interested in, especially those who she's connected to, people who she's influenced through. And that was why you see her whenever she's thrown on the TV, she walks freely, she walks confidently, she's so confident of herself.
What about the multiple evidence? I mean,
the multiple evidence are just for us to view once and see how it's, because that's the way I see it. I will also believe that when government don't get to be checked properly, these are the results. We expect the legislative arms of government to be in position, and the judiciary to be in position. When they make laws, the judiciary check the laws, and then we see the executing of those laws by the executive arms of government. And the executive arms of government is where Destiny Madueke was able to harness the loopholes and make use of it to our own selfish interests, and to the detriment of an ordinary Nigerians who will have felt that all those money will have been injected into good roads, health facilities, building of securities, and so many other things that we now have insecurity everywhere.
Okay, I think apart from Goodluck Jonathan, who wrote to the court on above, there's another person, is Royal Highness Oviwen Umele, the paramount ruler of Yeneka Town in Yenugwa, local government area of Bayelsa State.
Where she comes from.
Exactly. Describe his visit as a matter of duty and responsibilities to stand in solidarity with his daughter and sister, Desani Alisi Madueke. So beyond the former president writing to the court, there was also the monarch who also was there physically.
Benefiting
to say I'm standing in solidarity with that.
So
don't you think maybe these are many other
conditions that
led to acuta?
Yes, they will, because a powerful person like Jonathan is a global image that cannot be overlooked, and his opinion matters in so many things. Even Jonathan is more important to the world now that he is to Nigeria. And that was why when the people said this man will be vying for presidency, I have said it here that those ones are only trying to dent the image of this very beautiful, handsome man who has worked more for Nigeria, more and even more for the global world.
He went through the primaries. He's a candidate already.
Yeah, yes, he's a candidate, but they try to push him into it. But I tell you, that tells you how influential is Destiny Madueke. She has made use of her influence. If I want somebody to see me to the president, I know who to call. And if I also want somebody to see me to the governor of the state, I know who to call. And seeing that person, the governor will grant me an audience. And that is all just what they have done there. They've played their priorities so very clear, very wonderfully well. They also tell us that it is people that matters. It is not what you have in the paper, and that is where the Destiny was able to get. It was an unanimous judgment. The jury were able to, after so many hours, was to conclude that
49 hours of deliberation in the court,
and that tells you over a day, because 24 hours make a day, and if you have to go by 48, 49 hours, that's even more than a day. That's about 2
days and one extra hour.
And one extra, and that tells you that for you to make conclusion on such a person, they make good consultation to say what will be the effect if we say no, what will be the effect if we say yes, who will be affected if we say no, and who will be affected if we say yes. So
there's a problem here, and why do I say that? In 2025, January 11, Punch newspaper reported, I read, the government of United States of America has repatriated no less than $52.88 million linked to a former petroleum resources minister, Desani Alisi Madueke. And of course, the funds were said to be from the forfeiture of the Galatisa asset linked to Alisi Madueke and her associate. And then shortly after that, a lawyer, that's Michael Zekome, came out to debunk to say, no, these properties are not linked to her. And I read exactly what he said. He said, speaking on her behalf, Zekome stated that claims linking the money, now popularly referred to in the media as Desani's loot, I don't know whether you heard about that term, to the former minister are false and purely speculative. He clarified that the $52.8 million specifically belonged to Nigerian oil magnate Kola Aluko. How do you explain this issue? Because the Nigerian government is saying we're able to receive $52.88 million
from this woman's
from the forfeiture of the properties. And then the lawyer came out and said, no, nothing like that happened. And then fast forward to 2026, the court said, we are allowing you to go.
That is just what we have as government here. The loopholes in our own government will also affect the judgment. Judgment cannot be decided by our own kind of understanding, the way we see things. These juries also have to deal with facts. They have to deal with documents, fact documents. They have to weigh their judgment. It's not like in Nigeria that some cases go to court, and before they even land in court, you already know what is going to be the judgment. And especially when somebody tells you that let us meet in court, that in Nigerian terms, it tells you that the person is either having the brother as the judge, or the cousin as the judge, or somebody very closer to him or her is the judge. So that tells you that the case already have done. But in the case of this, I have said it earlier on that giving this kind of judgment, they will have weighed it to a point where they can come to a conclusion and say, yes, with what we have here, if we give this judgment this is what will be the effect of it. And if we give this other judgment, this is what will be the effect of it. For this judgment to have lasted that long, 29 hours, you know, that tells you that it's not a joke. If it has not been an ordinary case, they will just give it judgment in 3 hours. They will not even haven't concluded all matters, haven't bring up all facts, haven't gathered all documents. They will just say, okay, with all what we have here, with all this statement given, with all this defense and stuff, this is the judgment.
Even 3 hours in court is no joke.
It's not joke.
Talk of 49 hours.
49 hours. And that 49 hours, they will only be having one recess or the other. They'll be going for recess maybe in 2 minutes or 5 minutes or 10 minutes or in 30 or 1 hour. And that tells you that for that judgment is a global case. That case is a global case, and those judges also understand that their name will go down with the judgment. And in the case of Nigeria, what does it mean to us? How do we repatriate all that has been looted? What are those documents? You know, those people mentioned alongside with these loots are still working freely on our roads. No, but nothing has been done to them, except for some few of them whose houses, whose business has been shut down. But I tell you, they are still traveling very well. They still move around. Their children are in best schools. Where some people, where the masses whose money, whose life depend on those money they looted, are now shut down. You know, we don't have that kind of roads that we have always dreamed for. I used to tell people that there was a time that Nigeria would talk about Vision 2020, Vision 2010, Vision 2015. You know, now the vision is there. The year is there. There is no vision. You know, and I want to see somebody telling me now that Vision 2030 or 2040. I will move closer to that person and give him a good slap that vision will not come to be, because we have waited enough. And those who give us those visions are the ones looting the money that will be used to execute such kind of project for that vision. So the case of this Daybreak is a case of the power carries on.
Okay, what lessons do you think our security agencies know, or let me say the anti-corruption agencies in Nigeria, like the EFCC, what lessons do you think they should pick from this particular case? Because it was not even done in Nigeria. Because there was even a time that our property, just like I mentioned, our properties were featured even in Nigeria. Yeah. So what lessons do you think they should pick from a case that dragged for 11 years and ended in Akuta?
We've had such cases in Nigeria too. But I only want to draw the attention of the EFCC that maybe we have to do more of investigation. Maybe we should look away from politics. Maybe we should try and dig deep in our kind of research and not be emotional in presenting our cases. You know, in Nigeria, we are so much emotional, especially when the government is leaving and another one is coming back. They may not want to go deep. They may have a personal hatred or personal issue with the person in charge, in power at that time. Especially those ministers who have blocked some of their ways to penetrate into the government. And whenever that government is leaving, the new government wants to come in and say, yes, the Minister for Information must be probed. This and this must be probed. These are the things that they should learn from. And then we should have them like an independent organization or independent institution, and then make our judiciary such independent that they will not be influenced by the government. That is one of the problems that we are having, that is not giving us confidence in our judiciary.
Okay, should we say that the president should not appoint the EFCC chairman anymore?
Yes.
Is it even possible? Because if you look at that institution as a whole, look at past, EFCC, chairman, how would you assess their capacity?
None of them has been able to end up well. None have ended up well.
So what's the problem?
The problem is who is appointing the leaders. That is the problem. See, until we have the problem with our judiciary is also the problem like the EFCC. Also like the problem of the House of Assembly members. Where the House of Assembly member get influenced by the executive governor or the presidency. And that is where you see it, that they become a rubber stamp kind of House of Assembly members. Where many of them will not be able to talk very well as it matters affecting their local government or their jurisdictions. You know, the case of Orire local government come on air when this incident happens. The kidnapping case happened. And somebody will ask, is there anybody representing that local government? They have an House of Assembly member who I also know that at a particular time on the floor of the House have raised an observation about the movement of people that are strange in their local government, and it was even published on the newspaper. And at the end of the day, nothing was done. If we have spring into action, if we have moved and take decisive action at that time, maybe we will not be in this position that we are right now. You know, your state, where all the schools are shut down, people could not go to bed with their two eyes closed. Families are always crying every now and then when they remember their family who are in the forest. So these are the things that we need to do. These are the where we need to come together, because I always tell myself that things will not continue like that, like this in Nigeria. We are just how many years? 66 years. Nigeria will soon clock 100 years. But what will be of Nigeria when we will be clocking 76, 75 years, 76 years, 80 years, and the likes like that? What are the policies that we can do away with right now? Let us look at some of our institutions that we can make independent, put them in a structure where they will be decided, the appointment of the leaders in that place will be decided by some meaningful people, not from the presidency. What will influence their decision? We will not allow their investigation to be properly done. It's a shame on us to have gotten this woman free outside the country. It's a shame. I will tell you that it's a shame, because if that case can, because I know that the case that made this to last this long was part of the document supported to say this woman is corrupt, this woman is this allegation was no, and they have to sit for 49 hours. It's a shame. By the time this woman she's coming back home as a free woman.
Now we need to go just very quickly. Do you think we should, set a timeline, when it comes to the kind of investigations that we conduct for a particular case in Nigeria now, not even the UK? Because we've seen cases whereby cases will drag for 5-10 years.
We just need to be independent in our decision making. Put some institutions in an independent format where they will not be influenced. Because now we're talking about timeline. When there is a criminal case, and there are cases that you will not even know when that case started until after, if you say started 3 years, 2 years, and after the 2 years you now discover that this person that was accused of murder was not actually accused of murder. It was this person who has come to make the complaint that has actually killed the person in order to acquire some things from that area. So these are the reasons why investigation must be taken carefully done, such that you will not just.
It's not about the period now, according to you.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we need to go. But honestly, I want to thank you for being a part of the discussion this morning. We've been able to, emphasize certain things, that institutions should be independent, and it's not about the length. It's about doing the right thing at the right time. A big thanks to you, Afolabi, for being a part of this discussion this morning, and a big thanks to the viewers as well. Thank you for being a part of Big Story today. See you tomorrow. My name is Oluwayemi Adelakun. Bye for now.